Ready? All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. First, I would like to thank everybody for showing up tonight, those that are here in person and those that are online. Some of our board members are participating virtually. I want to start by doing a roll call to ensure that we have a quorum. All right, Mr. Homer Knight.
Present.
Ms. Patricia Chambers.
Present.
Ms. Letitia McCoy.
Present.
All right, Mika Smith. Chris Wiley.
Present.
Mr. Todd Ireland. Is he on?
Todd's here, but his mic is muted.
Okay. All right, Mr. Ireland, we're going to mark you as present. We see you online.
Present.
Perfect. All right.
Present.
With that, we have a quorum. All right, I want to start by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America and to the republic which stands one nation indivisible with justice for all.
liberty and justice for all. All right, the first agenda item that I have is approval of the meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion regarding the approval of the meeting agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. All right, the next agenda item is a discussion and a presentation by me regarding an initiative or two initiatives that I want to put before the board. So that'll be item 3 and item 4. All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I thought it'd be a little bit easier to do the presentation and before you all this way. I came before you maybe a month or two ago about an initiative that I wanted to put before the board. I've since had communications with Sylvia with Economic Development for the City of Fairburn, and I've come up with another initiative too. And then I've also culminated what the Leadership Fairburn program would look like. And I wanted to present that to you all because it is something that I would like for this board to take on as a development authority or downtown development authority initiative, okay? All right, so just for an introduction, the idea is the Focused on Fairburn initiative, and it's designed to foster economic growth and leadership development within the city of Fairburn, Georgia. This initiative consists of 2 interconnected programs. 1, Fairburn Business Alliance, and 2, Leadership Fairburn. Together, these programs will strengthen the local economy, cultivate civic engagement, and empower community leaders to drive meaningful progress in Fairburn. Program overview. The Fairburn Business Alliance, or FBA, aims to promote economic growth by supporting existing businesses, attracting new businesses and developers, and enhancing collaboration between the business community and local government. By working closely with the city's economic development team, the Alliance will help position Fairburn as a thriving business hub. The goals of the Fairburn Business Alliance. Number one, support and advocate for local businesses by providing networking opportunities and resources. Number two, work with the City of Fairburn Economic Development Team to promote Fairburn to prospective businesses and developers. Number three, create marketing initiatives that showcase Fairburn's business-friendly environment. Number four, foster public-private partnerships to drive economic sustainability. And number five, host business roundtables, workshops, and networking events to encourage collaboration. Program structure. Monthly business networking events and workshops, collaborative projects with the city's economic development team, and business mentorship and advocacy. The reason for me presenting this program is when our law firm was thinking about expanding into Fairburn about 2.5 years ago, we were introduced via Councilman Whitmore to a number of the city leadership. And we were introduced to Sylvia, who was over economic development. And what Sylvia did, I think it was kind of just by nature. I don't think it was a part of the pitch per se, but she introduced me to local business owners here in Fairburn. So as a business that was thinking about expanding into Fairburn, what she did was connect me with owners of restaurants, Mr. Wiley, Chris Wiley, different business owners, and they promoted the city and told us why it would be a good idea for our law firm to expand into the Fairburn market. And I thought that if we could, under this development authority, take it on as an initiative to build this business alliance, when there are new developers that are looking for places to go and they're considering Fairburn, that Sylvia could call upon us, or economic development could call upon us as business leaders, and I think everybody on this board is a business leader here in Fairburn, could participate in those conversations to encourage businesses that we want to see in Fairburn, to help motivate them to come. And then for developers, of course, we're on the development board, so we got insight, but it allows us to have those conversations about why Fairburn is the place that these businesses should come, or why these developers should develop here. And so that's kind of the core focus of why I thought about the Fairburn Business Alliance. But I think on top of that, I've been here for about 1.5 years now, and there's not a real space for business owners to commune in like a networking type setting in an organized manner. And I think that under the Fairburn Business Alliance head, we could host or provide access to these local business owners to be able to network, talk about their businesses, talk about their struggles within their businesses, without the per se the government being involved. It's something that businesses within the Fairburn community could begin to develop these conversations and help one another out. If there are resources and things like that that we know about, we could tell our fellow business partner. But one of the things, and just kind of as a minute point or smaller point, all of us that have brick and mortar locations in Fairburn generally have some sort of renter's insurance or some sort of insurance. If there's a local insurance company here in Fairburn that we can all utilize and the rates are fair, we should utilize them. If there's a local catering company here in Fairburn, we should utilize them. And I think that the Fairburn Business Alliance would allow and facilitate us to know what businesses are here, what services or products they provide, and we can begin to promote those businesses, but we can also begin to shop with those and utilize those services. All right, but I'll go ahead and, I didn't have a presentation for the Fairburn Business Alliance, but if y'all have any questions, we can surely discuss that now. Yes.
Most cities have this business association somehow, where they call it different things. Is it where you get together, you bring the other businesses in, and you network the services, or is it word of mouth by going out to them? How will it work, pulling the businesses together?
So and that's a great question. My idea of it is that we have a registration type process, like, a one-pager that they can fill out if they want to participate or be a part of this alliance. And I think, I think it would be beneficial to businesses that, hey, if you're a part of this alliance, you'll get discounts on our products. If it's, so say for example, if I'm a company in Fairburn and I got a car wash business, right? If you're a part of this alliance, you might get a discount on your car washes or whatever throughout the year to help promote being a part of this alliance. And I think that, we can definitely roundtable it and create workshops and create spaces where we can, if we have issues or whatever the case may be, we can bring it before this group and we can lobby kind of as a unified unit. And it's not just one voice here complaining about different things and one voice here, because some of us have the same issues that we're dealing with and facing.
So the application, will there be a fee? Will it be a part of it?
We can surely discuss that. I'm not opposed to there being some sort of fee or some sort of process that you have to go through to be a part of it.
Right, the reason I'm saying that, because if there's a fee, then you can have a network of dinners, meals where you get together. Second, will this have a political leg?
Explain that question for me.
Some of these businesses are set up and they business-like and they flip political and promoting certain political affairs.
Okay.
Is it gonna be strictly based business networking and not get that political leg in there? Because when the campaigns come up or whatever, they want this to go one way or whatever. You follow me?
I do.
It start being a political leg rather than what you really set it up to be.
Right. Yeah, and I appreciate that clarity. So, ideally, the business alliance would be strictly focused on developing businesses here in Fairburn and creating spaces where these businesses can come together and talk about issues, can workshop together, can network together at a local coffee shop or something, or Judy's around the corner for breakfast. But it allow us to be able to talk about business-related issues. Now, it's hard to say it won't get politicized because, of course, the goal is to promote local businesses, and one politician may promote local businesses and say we're open for business, and one may not. So it's hard to necessarily say that, but I don't think the goal of it is to ever promote one politician over the other. But I think the Business Alliance creates the agendas that we want to push forward for businesses here locally in Fairburn. I hope that answered your question.
Partial,
Okay.
but I'm more talking about the political leg. This person running for office and this person running for office. Is it gonna will it be lending legs to that? Giving money, or selecting money for a campaign. I'm not talking about the certain, it's just for some city councilman, they got a particular business. That's still networking. But when they start doing the political leg, politicians, and elections start coming up, then there'd be a lot of powerful people involved in there, and it started getting political, where you campaigning, they bring flyers, you promoting a particular person, political issue that's there. That's what I'm really talking about.
I'm with you. That's certainly not my vision for this alliance, is to promote any politician over the other or put money behind anybody's campaign. I do believe, though, that there is space to allow politicians, especially here locally, to come before the alliance and talk about what their agendas are to the Business Alliance, and that way we can know, who to vote for. But the Business Alliance itself endorsing a candidate or putting money behind a candidate, that's certainly not the vision that I foresee.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, first of all, I apologize for my tardiness. So if some of these questions you've already answered, please let me know. I applaud what you're trying to do with the Business Alliance, but correct me if I'm wrong, I thought we already had some kind of business forum where small businesses will meet on I think it was a quarterly basis.
If it is, I'm not familiar with it.
We have we have a business meeting that we have with our businesses on a quarterly basis. I think the distinction is this particular alliance would be something promoted and pushed by the Development Authority.
Oh.
Current Business Alliance is facilitated by the City of Fairburn, working with our small businesses.
Yeah, and I specifically wanted something outside of the City of Fairburn being the authoritative body behind it. I want something a little disconnected, in the sense that businesses, we have issues sometimes with city, things that the city is trying to put forth. And I think us working together as an alliance within business owners to push whatever agenda forward or to address whatever issues that we may have, I think it might be a safer space for us to do that collectively within business owners versus with the city kind of, overseeing that process.
So how would you differentiate this from the Chamber of Commerce?
So this is specifically for Fairburn. The Chamber of Commerce, from my understanding, is the South Fulton Chamber of Commerce, which encompasses all 8 cities. And not trying to be in competition with them, but I think Fairburn businesses may have unique challenges, unique things that we're facing and dealing with that is outside of just all 8 cities. And then we can have our own coalition therein to have, again, these monthly workshops, these monthly, networking events where we as Fairburn businesses can come together specifically.
I'm happy that you mentioned competition, because if it's a business alliance and say you have multiple businesses competing for the same clientele, how do you see that working?
Well, I mean, that's just the nature of business. I think, and I'm gonna mess this saying up, but what is it? A rising tide lifts all boats. So I think there is healthy competition, but I think the goal of the Business Alliance is to develop our businesses where we have really good businesses here that have really good customer service, that provide quality service to the customers here, and that we are all, getting our issues and things like that addressed, that we have with the city or that we might have, within the development process. We all, I think a part of it is making sure that we have a voice in what is brought here, and then also making sure that if we need, in hopes that we can, work with the city to help bring the businesses that we want, help bring the developers that we want. And sometimes that little touch of sitting down with Ms. McCoy and talking to her about her business and what she does and how that business has grown and developed over, the last 2 years might be the deciding factor for me as a new business thinking about coming into Fairburn.
All right, 2 more questions. Since I know you're an attorney, you're used to answering questions on the fly. Timing, as a small business owner, time is, limited. Mm-hmm. And so you said monthly. I mean, it's sometimes difficult just to get to this meeting. So do you really feel that we have enough support to have business leaders meet on a monthly basis?
I mean, that's certainly the goal. I don't think every business that is a part of the alliance will be able to show up or have a representative present for every meeting. No, I don't think that's realistic, but I think that's certainly the goal. And I think if we add enough value to businesses here, they will want to show up. They'll want to be a part of it. And you mentioned the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce has, hundreds or even thousands of members, and they have events all the time. And I know, as a member of the South Fulton Chamber, I don't show up to every event, but if it's one that catches my eye and I think is going to add value to me or my business, I show up to those.
Well, the last question is, I recall you talking about a leadership cohort.
Yep.
And
getting into that next.
Okay, I'll go ahead and keep quiet then. Thank you.
No, thank you for your questions. I appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay. All right, we'll move on. Great segue into the Leadership Fairburn organization, and you can pull that PowerPoint up for me, Mike. All right. So, as I mentioned before, we had talked about this Leadership Fairburn initiative maybe 2 or 3 months ago. So at that time, it was just at the idea phase, still somewhat in the idea phase, but it has developed a little bit more. And I wanted to bring it back before you all again because I want this to be an initiative that the board pushes forward. And I'm going to talk about it, and then I want your insight and your input, your criticism and critiques as well. So the program overview, and this is all, my thought process. So if you have a revision or you have other ideas, feel free to interject. The duration of the program would be from April to October. In the beginning, there will be a introduction of the program via an orientation. 2 meetings per month. One of the meetings will be a workshop on a key community pillar, and we'll go into that in just a second. And then the other one will be a group planning session for a major collaborative project that will take place in that October month. The focus areas, of course, are leadership, community engagement, and civic education. Major collaborative projects, participants work on a team project with a local impact. And meeting locations, they will vary throughout Fairburn. Similar programs, and I included links to them. Leadership DeKalb has a similar type program. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, though. Fulton County Citizens University is another program. It's a 12-week intensive course where it's strictly for the government, though. It's strictly for learning the local government with that particular organization. Leadership Montgomery is one that I mentioned before, where it's underneath the umbrella of the Chamber of Commerce, but it's a similar type program. And then there's also a Leadership Atlanta here locally. So the monthly meeting breakdown proposal is, like in the month of April, there would be a local government and civic engagement, which would be that first meeting workshop. And what it is it's an opportunity to understand policy and governance. So for example, that first workshop might be 45 minutes or an hour, and it might be a panel discussion with our local governmental officials, and they present what some of the things that the city is pushing forward, some of their personal agendas, and things of that nature, so that the participants in the cohort get to learn more about the local government. It's also an opportunity for those, for example, that might be on a panel to talk about how you can get more engaged as a citizen. And I think I'll talk about this later on, but qualifications. So the qualifications are essentially somebody that either resides in Fairburn or works in Fairburn. Those are the qualifications for participation. But that way, it has a local impact right here in Fairburn, and then it's something that you are impacted by, either by being a person that works here or a person that lives here. In May, economic development and small business. And again, the goal is to introduce the cohort to these different facets. So we might have, a panel discussion again with local business owners. We might invite Sylvia as economic development for the city of Fairburn to talk about ways that the business environment here in Fairburn can thrive, number one, but also specific resources that might be available to small businesses here in Fairburn or big businesses. but that would be May. June, education and workforce development, the role of education and community progress and development. And so we might bring out some of our principals at our local schools to talk about what the school system is doing, and how you as an individual might be able to help or play more of an active role. Workforce development. Workforce development is always a key pillar to any organization because, you know, when we bring developers here, when we bring businesses here, they're going to need a workforce. And I think it's important to always kind of keep workforce at the top of mind to make sure that we have a developed workforce. Our education system and our initiatives are coinciding with the businesses that we're bringing here, because we want to make sure that once people come of age, they can get the jobs that are in the local area. July, public safety and community wellness. So we could invite, you know, all of our first responders out and for them to do a panel discussion. And you know, I think there's I think there's somewhat of a lack sometimes in some communities where you don't really know all of the resources that you have available to you, especially when it comes to public safety and what they, you know, what resources they have. I've spent some time with the fire chief, and he, you know, tells me about the awards that the fire department has won recently, and I just, you know, I think sometimes that gives you an element of pride, number one, but it also tells you the resources that you might have available to you if you or a loved one are ever in this an emergency situation. But also, as you all know, here recently there have been a lot of natural disasters, and in, you know, a situation where you're at work or at home, or your loved one is at work or at home here in Fairburn, and you face a natural disaster, knowing what resources you have from public safety would always be important and vital to you. So I think inviting them out and allowing them to talk more about stuff like that. August, nonprofits and faith-based organizations and how these service organizations and religious groups are impacting Fairburn. It's always good to know about nonprofit organizations and the work that they're doing, and how we can participate. A lot of times these organizations are looking for volunteers. And so, you know, if it's something that piques your interest, that might be an opportunity to be able to participate, but bringing leaders within the nonprofit space, within the faith-based organization space before us to be able to talk about that. In September, environmental sustainability and infrastructure, you know, always important. I got a case right now that I'm dealing with where some environmental issues in a local community, but, you know, just knowing what resources are available. Sometimes there's grant funding for environmental projects and environmental initiatives. And so, you know, just bringing those environmental engineers and environmental researchers and folks that can talk about that before this cohort, I think, will be beneficial as well. And then infrastructure, it's always talking about infrastructure and always figuring out ways to improve and always figuring out ways that we can, we know what's coming. It's important. Then October would be the last month where we'll do a project presentation and a graduation. And I'll talk a little bit more about the project. So the project, for example, if you would think about it this way, if this cohort, if a team had thought about the national night out, if they had thought of like a Fairburn night out before this national night out had ever occurred, and that was one of the initiatives, and they had to plan it and figure out, you know, how to get the police officers involved and how to promote it and all of that, that's an example of the projects or the type of projects we want these cohorts to develop. I had one back in Montgomery where there was a guy that had the firefighters, and they did like a dinner and a firefighter appreciation night. But it's that way we can have a local impact with an initiative that, you know, you and your group think of, create, promote, and execute on. Then, of course, the graduation to bring it all home. I know I've been talking a lot. Y'all got any questions so far? All right. And member cohort qualifications, again, must reside or work in Fairburn, demonstrate leadership, potential, and a commitment to community service, actively involved in professional or civic organizations, ability to commit to attending all sessions and actively participating in discussions, motivated to improve the Fairburn community and building connections with other stakeholders and citizens. And the proposed application process is essentially there will be a application process that includes some sort of personal statement and references. Some of these other organizations have it where you can only be a part of it if you're nominated by another group, by a member of the group. But since this will be kind of the pilot or the initial phase, we wouldn't be able to do it that way. And so there would be, need to be some sort of application process and some vetting process. Pay the required application or registration fee. Application review evaluated by the selection committee. And of course, I would like Sylvia's insight or board members' insight on how we could put together some sort of selection committee or if it's going to be the development board. Interviews if necessary, final selection, notification and program onboarding, and then commitment agreement signed by the participants, and then the estimated cohort size, at least for the initial, is 10 to 20 members. Any questions about that? Program completion requirements: attend at least 90% of scheduled workshops and group planning sessions. Again, it's 2 a month is the goal. We just want you to be an active participant in the program, actively contribute to the major collaborative project that we just talked about, and then complete the final presentation. Next, I want to talk a little bit about funding. And so in any pitch, there's always what's the ask, and the ask is that we allocate some of the DA and DDA or DDA budget to the Leadership Fairburn program. We can also get funding from partnerships and sponsorships from local businesses, again, cohort members paying application fees, et cetera. Fundraising, there are some grant opportunities for organizations like this. I'm not sure if there's grant opportunities solely for nonprofits or if you could be, just an organization that's pushing leadership that can get those grant opportunities, but there are some grant opportunities. And then vendors are always an avenue to get funding. Potential uses for the funding: group T-shirts and collar shirts, catering services. If we're meeting, I would like to, have pizza or, something for people to be able to eat. Our, whatever literature, printing and et cetera. And then again, all this stuff may be able to be donated, but just if it's not donated, we might, need funding for it. Resources for the group project. So, if a team needs to, go to the store and buy X, Y, and Z, either they can do it on their own, or there might be an avenue where we as the development authority have, of course, budget for those projects. The graduation, of course, graduation and award. I put vendor on there, but I think it's supposed to be on the other side. Any questions about that?
So what age group are you targeting? Teenagers?
No, great question. Not necessarily targeting teenagers. I would say you would have to be over the age of 18 to be a part of it.
Just business owners or?
Not necessarily business owners, just people that live or work in Fairburn.
I have a few questions here because I know people who've been a part of Leadership Atlanta, Leadership Douglasville, and I know it's time consuming. My number one question is, who would be the facilitator for the workshops and the meetings?
Right, so that's one of the things that I wanted you all's input on and Sylvia's input on, because I think what we talked about, during our training is having subcommittees where you have like a chairperson of the subcommittee and a sub-chair. So it essentially could be a volunteer type space, and I know what you're saying is time consuming, and that's why I, made the cohort somewhat smaller because of that fact. But I'm open to thoughts and ideas on how we could facilitate someone being over it or facilitating the meetings and the application process.
Now, as far as the group project, is that encompassing everyone in the cohort, or will you have two different groups, or how does that work?
So the idea would be to, the participants would be broken up into teams, and we can figure out how to do the teams, but the participants will be in teams and they will work together on that project.
Okay, for a 501c3, are you going to establish that prior to the inaugural cohort, or you require the participants to take care of that paperwork? And if so, who's going to pay that fee?
Sure. I did not intend for it to be a 501c3. The goal was for it to be under our umbrella as the DDA. And so if it, I think like this, and I've seen some of these organizations have developed into 501c3, and I think like the CAB one, I think may have been a part of the chamber at first, and then it established its own 501c3. But I think getting this started and getting the process going, and then it could grow into whatever it wants to be. But I think initially the ideal is not to have it as its own 501c3.
All right, last question as far as marketing. Are you going to market to, going back to Mr. Chambers' question, 18-year-olds? Because usually it was for business owners that were maybe 40 plus, or maybe, I think they even had two separate, like you had young professionals and more seasoned. Because for me to sit down with someone 18, I mean, my youngest son is 27, so
Sure.
it's not too much all I could do is teach them, but I don't want to say I can't learn from them, because I can't learn how to use these phones. But outside of that, when it comes to business, I've been doing business longer than he or she's been alive. So to match a 54-year-old with an 18-year-old, it doesn't really make sense to me.
Or maybe get like businesses to nominate somebody,
Yeah, and I think, so I think we're dealing with two different facets of this right now, just because it's the pilot or the initial group. It's hard to narrow down the qualifications per se. I would say this. I'm open to ideas. If we need to limit the qualifications and do things like have local businesses nominate somebody from their business and et cetera, I'm open to that. But I do want to say this, though. There is, if you got a young person that is interested in becoming a leader, that is energetic or whatever the case may be, you might need somebody as a part of your group, right, that's going to make the phone calls or that's going to run and do X, Y, and Z. And so I think there's benefit in mixing different segments of the Fairburn community as a part of the cohort, essentially. But I'm again, that's why I'm coming before you all, because I don't have all the answers. And if you all have better ideas as to who may qualify, I mean, I think that's what this opportunity is for.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Just to add a little bit to that, there's some 21, 22-year-old young people out there is on top of their game. Now, I personally wouldn't want to be, I'm 70, sitting in front of 22 years telling me how to direct business. I've been in business ever since I was 22 years. I can learn from them, but I wouldn't want them to dictate how to run a business that they experience. Having some young people on the board, as successful business owners, would cater to those young ones. It's there because they're in a whole different world. And I'm in, and I got young people teaching me all these social things, how to get on it, how to make money, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm real slow with that. So young people is really on top of that stuff. Second, I think it's a little aggressive for, I'm speaking by myself, to be meeting twice a month or committing to that. I think that the number you said is 20 members, right? I think if you're gonna be successful, the number should be 50% participation. Because to get 90% of business owners, you know, I have tons of meetings during the week. And to make this meeting, you know, when they cancel, I hate it because I plugged it in and I canceled another meeting. So I think that's pretty aggressive to try to get 2 meetings starting out with really business owners running the business.
Sure.
So if you had 20 people and you got 10 of them, I think you'd be more successful in having a number there. But if you got 20, you're looking for 20, I just can't see it twice a month. That's my perspective.
And no, and I appreciate that, and I'm gonna speak to I think both comments because I think the first thought that I have in response to that is the breakdown essentially is six of the meetings are essentially with these sectors doing some presentation, right? So it's not necessarily a mentorship type program as much as it is the cohort getting familiarized with these different segments that we talked about each month of this community. I think the second half, or the second meeting every month, is more so the groups getting together to be able to talk about their project and facilitate, and if they need, you know, help or thoughts or whatever the case may be, and we come together. So I agree with you. It is going to be aggressive, especially, you know, I think anybody can imagine all of our schedules are extremely busy in 2025 with all that's going on. And so I think ideally, primarily the 6 meetings that involve those different segments doing some presentation is primary, and then I think secondary, the groups might be able to create their own schedule surrounding when they can meet to talk about their group project. But I do want to just reiterate, it's not, I don't envision this, and it might have some mentorship components, but I don't envision this being some sort of mentorship program. All right. Anything else? Anybody on the Zoom? Okay. All right, and then in conclusion, good timing. Leadership Fairburn is a unique opportunity for the DDA to offer a leadership development program to facilitate collaboration between stakeholders in all sectors of the community. The program will offer 6 months of leadership training for participants that caps off with a group project and graduation. So that's the ultimate end goal. And anybody have any closing thoughts or questions or ideas or comments, concerns, anything like that on either project, their idea?
I like where you're going. I think it's going to be great. I know you've thought of it a lot, put a lot of thought and everything in it, and of course, everything can, you know, with time, fine-tuning different areas, and but I see the vision for sure.
Thank you. All right, well, I appreciate you all's time, and Sylvia, help me out with next steps. Is it a vote that we have to do at some point?
So
Or?
yes, sir. Today would be the presentation. We will provide the draft documents and have it as an agenda item for a vote for next meeting.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay, with that said, I'd like to talk a few things over in a personal way that I'm looking at and see how it fits in
Okay.
on there, rather than air it out.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all again for your time. All right. And moving on to our next agenda item, city special projects and events. Is that you, Sylvia?
Yes, sir. Good evening, board members. Just briefly, one of the great things about the Development Authority as champions of the city of Fairburn and advocating for many of our programmings, we want to be sure that many of the activities that you all represent are listed and promoted during these meetings. Our next wave we did complete our Black History Month celebration and cultural exhibit. We are rescheduling the Fairburn Business Luncheon, which was initially scheduled for March 13th. One of our presenters was unable to attend, so we will be rescheduling that meeting to focus on funding resources. The Georgia Renaissance Ren Thursday is also part of our downtown business development. As a part of tourism and outreach, we partner with Georgia Renaissance Festival to bring Ren Thursdays to our downtown. That will begin April 24th. Those dates will be coordinated and listed on our community events calendar. Health and Wellness Expo will be coming up in April. We also have been hosting pop-up food trucks events for the downtown area to promote our local businesses, as well as have vendors who are local to Fairburn to participate, and that has been going on since January. It will end at the end of April. The pop-up food trucks are located at the Fairburn Education Campus or the Fairburn City Center. We also have some that come to the Frankie Arnold Stage and Courtyard. We will host Keep Fairburn Beautiful Week with community activities beginning April 14th through the 18th. That will be citywide. We also just culminated and completed, in conjunction with the Atlanta Preservation Society, Sharing Our Voices, Phoenix Fly's Historic Walking Tour. It was March 7th, 14th, and the 21st. We had approximately 30 plus folks from around the region to come and to visit downtown Fairburn. Most of them said they've never been to Fairburn before, but they would be coming back. National Business Week and workshops will be May 4th in conjunction, Chairman mentioned that we will be combining Economic Development Week and National Small Business Week. If there are important programs or initiatives, that's when we want to promote those. Our Women's Business Expo will be in May. And then we have our series of events and festivals, which include Fairburn Third Fridays. The first event is April 18th, and that is going to be a gospel fest. And we also are starting back up our fresh markets, and they'll be called the Fairburn Exchange, which will be a combination of both businesses as well as farmers. And lastly, we want to celebrate new business openings, ribbon cuttings. Lavish Nails opened, and the reopening of Judy's Restaurant. Also, a special recognition in our downtown, Miss Savory's Restaurant received the Spatula Award. So that was televised, and you'll be able to see that on the news, but she is located in our historic Hudson Plaza, and she received the Spatula Award for 100 on her rating. So if you are in the downtown area, we hope that you'll visit our downtown restaurants. We have a really good food in Fairburn. And that ends the report for now.
Thank you. Anybody have any comments or questions? All right, seeing none.
On the beautification, is that, the trash cans will be located throughout Fairburn?
Yes, the Keep Fairburn Beautiful.
Yes.
So our community beautification ambassadors are meeting, and they are scheduling a week of events that would include arts and crafts, again, the cleanup efforts that they did on the King Service Day, as well as food giveaways, but we'll have an update soon.
And that information would go out in a newsletter or on the website?
Both. We coordinate all of our events with our communications director, and she makes sure that they're promoted, and then we'll also have it on the website.
Okay, because that last year, mostly ones in my neighborhood didn't even know about it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So we'll also have, one of the things we want to make sure you all have flyers in advance so that you can share in your respective communities and centers of influence.
Anybody else? Thank you, Ms. Abernathy. All right, and the last item that I have on the agenda is adjournment. So if I can get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of adjourning this meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.
7 o'clock quick.
Next meeting is the Development Authority of Fairburn meeting. I want to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Start by doing a roll call. Better? Perfect. All right, I want to go ahead and call the Development Authority of Fairburn meeting to order. I want to go ahead and do a roll call. Mr. Homer Knight,
Present.
Chris Wiley,
Present.
Mika Smith,
Present.
Todd Ireland,
Present.
Patricia Chambers,
Present.
Letitia McCoy.
Present.
All right, and with that, we do have a quorum. The second agenda item I have is approval of the meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
A motion that we approve the meeting agenda, March 26, 25, 7 o'clock agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. All right, the third agenda item I have is presentation by the Economic Development and Health and Wellness.
Over the weekend, we were fortunate to host a focus group involving Fairburn residents to look at Grady Hospital, or Grady Healthcare System, excuse me, and the potentialities or get community engagement and feedback regarding service delivery, opportunities for expansion, opportunities for growth and engagement. It was hosted by a brilliant woman by the name of Miss Marilyn McCain and her team, and we are fortunate to have her here tonight. She is the Director of Pathology and Laboratory for Grady Systems, and one of the key issues is talking about equity in healthcare. It's something that's very important to our community, and as an economic development initiative, that is one of the things that we are trying to promote to ensure wellness in our community. So she has extensive experience, and she's also a Fairburn resident from Union City, okay, close, right down the street. But she is coming to us now to talk about health and equity and opportunities for us to further involvement with Grady Health Systems.
Good evening, and thank you so much.
Good evening.
I'm sorry. I got a pretty loud mouth, but I'll use it. My name is Marilyn McCain, as she stated earlier. I am here to represent Grady Health System today to talk a little bit about health equity and the new freestanding emergency room that's coming to this section of South Fulton in Union City at the corner of South Fulton Parkway and Highway 92. So we do have a presentation. Oh. So we did want to give you a little bit of history about Grady. Has anyone visited or been to Grady in the last 5 years? In the last 2 years. So we've had a lot of changes downtown at the main hospital. We are, as you all know, the only level 1 trauma center in the city right now, with the closing of South Fulton and the closing of Atlanta Medical Center downtown, which was an emergency room, not a level 1 trauma as Grady is. Our emergency room in the last year, in 2024, saw over 148,000 patients. Our urgent care sees over 19,000. Our emergency response team sees well over 179,000 cases per year. And our total patient visits was well over 737,000. And these are stats from 2024. We currently have 8 neighborhood centers. I don't know if you all are aware that Grady is in the primary care business, and we have several primary care offices not very far from where we are located today. Right down the street at the South Fulton Annex Building on Stonewall Hill, we have a behavioral health clinic that's open 5 days a week. We just opened a behavioral health crisis center on Cleveland Avenue and Metropolitan. Well, actually, it's on Metropolitan just off of Cleveland, and that is a 24-hour, 72-hour hold for cases that are either walked in by ambulance or by police, and we hold them there until they are stable and or admitted to the main hospital. That is a brand new facility that opened in October of 2024. We also have other behavioral health clinics, because that question came up in the focus groups that we did on Saturday here with your residents. They were very concerned about behavioral health and mental health services in this community. We have a primary care office at Camp Creek that has family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics, all the modalities for radiology, a lab and a pharmacy. We opened a new clinic about a year and a half ago at Cascade and 285. We have a brand new clinic that we just opened on Lee and White Street in the West End, that has geriatrics, family medicine, pediatrics, and internal medicine, and we see OBGYN at all of those particular clinics. We also have a clinic in East Point. Those are just the ones on the south side of Atlanta. We have other clinics in DeKalb County, plan to open 2 more in DeKalb on Candler and Flat Shoals in 2025 and early 2026. So Grady is expanding and is very interested in serving the communities of Fulton and DeKalb counties with these neighborhood health centers. We have, can't really see that too well up there. Yeah, I talked about the behavioral health clinics. These clinics actually were turned over to Grady by Fulton County. We actually have the largest behavioral health clinic is downtown at Park Place. And then the other ones are in neighborhoods. North Fulton has one at the North Fulton Annex facility as well. So we have outpatient services, subspecialty services, and as you can see from the numbers up there, that we have actually increased our patient visits over time, inpatient and outpatient, in 2024. This particular slide shows by race and ethnicity the patient mix that we see at Grady, and you can see that the vast majority of our patients are Black and African American. Our health equity department actually is very intentional about the services that we provide so that we can service the citizens of South Fulton, especially as we embark on this new emergency room. We're out in the communities almost every weekend, several times during the week as well, at community events. If you're having a community event, whether it's churches or community organizations, and they want to do health screenings, we will come represent Grady and do glucose monitoring, cholesterol screenings. We have a very extensive prostate antigen screening blood test that we perform at all of these events, and we also do blood pressure checks. So by zip code, our health equity department actually tracked illnesses and diseases by zip code. If you live south of I-20, you have your life expectancy between someone living on the south side and someone on the north side is about 13 years. And those are the things that we are targeting through health equity. And the social determinants of health involve financial resources, food insecurity, transportation needs, housing insecurity, and utility insecurity. And this is data that we have pulled from the patient mix that we see at Grady, and we wanted to share that with you because it's very significant, and therefore Grady is highly intentional about servicing residents in these particular zip codes. So health equity, as we define it, means that everyone has a fair and just opportunity to be as healthy as possible. This requires removing obstacles to health such as poverty, discrimination, and their consequences, including powerlessness and lack of access to good jobs and fair pay, quality education, housing, safe environment, and health care. So this is our health equity team at Grady. We actually have a teen program that we promote in the summer for high school students. It's actually starting at the end of the school year. We bring in teenagers from all the zip codes in and around Fulton and DeKalb. We even pull some in from Gwinnett County and Cobb County. And the students come in and they matriculate as a part of the Health Equity Initiative. Throughout the hospital, we get them exposure to different health, positions throughout the hospital. They can rotate through multiple different departments throughout the summer. They're usually there for half a day, and they spend time with nurses, physicians, in the laboratory, with nutrition, in radiology, PT/OT, and we try to give them a full experience throughout the summer. So, the highlight of my presentation today is really focusing on the new emergency room. The new emergency room will be freestanding, will be a 20,000 square foot facility with 20 exam rooms. We hope to have, we plan to have 4 observation areas and 2 resuscitation rooms. We will see all of the major health concerns that you see there, from abdominal pain to breathing difficulties, chest pain, and unlike our hospital downtown, unless it's a dire emergency, we will also have pediatric services. These are all services that are lacking in South Fulton. We are in a healthcare desert in this part of town, and Grady has actually stepped up and partnered with Union City to come in and stand up this free emergency room. We purchased 40 acres down on that corner, and there are plans to be expansion, and that's why we wanted to do these focus groups with the communities, because as we look to expand that site, we want to know what the residents would like to see. And hands down, over and over again, we are targeting all of the 7 cities in South Fulton, speaking to residents to find out exactly, as we expand that site and that location, we want to know what it is they would like to see, what they think is already missing in South Fulton. So almost every session that we've had, behavioral health came up, mental health services, services for children, OBGYN services. In fact, there was a physician that has an office right next door in Hudson Plaza. I spoke with her actually just today. Yes, she was in our focus group, and she's very interested in partnering and wanting to know what Grady plans to do around OBGYN services in this area, especially with OB patients. So this is a freestanding emergency room. Grady has also invested in there will be a helipad there and a helicopter, so that if we get a patient who is actually critical and needs to be transferred downtown, we will be able to helicopter them down rather than having to deal with the traffic. As you know, traffic in Atlanta gets worse and worse every single day. With the distance between where we sit and where Grady sits, we are the only level 1 trauma center within a 100-mile radius. The next level 1 trauma center is in Macon. That's 100 miles away. So we want to make sure that if someone arrives at this facility and needs more urgent, emergent care, that we can get them downtown as quickly as possible. Are there any questions thus far?
Where exactly is this freestanding clinic?
Okay,
Going
do
to
you know
be?
where the voter registration building is down on Highway 92?
Yes.
It's right next to that, on that corner. The corner that sits right there at South Fulton and 92.
Okay. So if I'm leaving here to, it would be on my right?
On your right, that is correct.
That lot?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we are having a groundbreaking on April 10th. And the plan is to have that facility standing up by June of 2026. I'm very proud of Grady's initiative to see the need in South Fulton and to partner with Union City to bring this service to our community. Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. McCain, for all this information. I wasn't aware of a freestanding emergency facility, but I am curious about if you partner with National Association of Mental Illness, NAMI.
Yes, we actually, Grady is actually the second largest provider of mental health services in the state, second only to the penal system. So I told you earlier about the 4 facilities we already have, and one being right down the street in the Stonewall Tell Government Building. We've been there for about 2 years now. And the one that we just opened in October on Cleveland, and we will have behavioral health and mental health services at this location. And if patients need to be admitted, they will be transferred downtown for admission to the hospital.
Okay, so your partnership with NAMI, do you also speak with police officers if they have any cases where there might be a mental health illness with someone, for instance, a homeless person, where they don't know exactly how to treat that person?
That is exactly why we opened that facility on Cleveland Avenue, because patients can either walk in or they can be taken there by police and or by ambulance.
All right, and the last question, for the health screening, is it possible to set that up in certain neighborhoods where people don't have transportation?
For health screenings,
Like to
are you
do
talking about the community events that we
Yes,
do?
community events.
Well, you let us know where your, if you wanted to have a community event where you wanted health screenings, you would reach out to the health equity team. We would find out what your target audience is, what screenings you would like to have, and we don't do transportation. We would show up and be present at your facility or at your event to provide those services.
What if you have like a community outreach house within a neighborhood? Can we have it in the house, or does it have to be outside?
If you are, no, we've done them just recently. Last Saturday when I was here, I had a team down at the Tracy Wyatt Recreation Center on Godby Road performing health screenings. We were at the College Park Housing Authority about a week ago on a Tuesday afternoon doing health screenings. Prior to that week, we were at Clark Atlanta University with the HBCU Basketball Challenge 2 weeks in a row. We have been, we did health screenings at the Nation of Islam PSAs. We did a health screening during Men's Month last year at the Aviation Center at the airport, where we partnered with Morehouse School of Medicine, and we did health screening. So you let us know where your facility will be. They don't have to be outside. We've done them inside and outside if the weather is conducive, of course.
So I just contact the health equity team online?
You can, yes, or you can call, I can make sure that Ms. Abernathy has my information. You can reach out to me and I can connect you with our scheduler and see if we have availability at the time that you choose to have a health event. Actually, one of the ladies that was at the meeting on Saturday, her father has a church in Fairburn, and she has already reached out to us to participate in a health event for the youth of her church. And we'll, accommodate her as well.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So will the condition financially be the same as Atlanta on this side of town?
I'm sorry?
The financial accepting clients into the hospital, will it be the same setup that's accept clients in Atlanta?
Well, Grady doesn't turn anyone away,
Okay, so it'd be the same.
so it'll be the same. That is correct.
I'm glad,
We have financial counselors that will work with patients that are uninsured
Yeah, because there's
as
a
well
lot
as
of,
insured.
not, she's sure, but they need health care, so I'm really happy to see that.
Oh, absolutely. Grady is, we don't turn anyone away. That's something else I'm very proud of, to be associated with an organization like Grady. We serve the underserved. There are a lot, I'm going to leave this slide deck with you. These are the neighborhood health centers that we have. I told you about the ones that are on the south side that we have opened here. The other good thing about that Camp Creek location is that we've just added physical therapy over there. We have an extensive physical therapy department that just opened in the last quarter of 2024. I don't know if you know, but Grady has physicians from Morehouse School of Medicine and Emory University School of Medicine that practice at our hospital. And those same, well, we have physicians that are employed by Grady that actually work at the neighborhood centers. And this is the access to care screen that we use for health equity. This is the map showing the 13-year difference in an individual's life expectancy if they live in these targeted zip codes. If the system remains unchanged, the disparities among these vulnerable populations could definitely increase and create an economic burden in excess of $353 billion by 2050. This is also another slide showing by zip code the populations, the life expectancy of patients that live in those zip codes. Again, another slide that shows a larger map, including Fulton and DeKalb counties. And most of these zip codes are in African-American communities. So I'll leave this with you. You can, scan over these, and if you have any further questions, please let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCain.
All right. The next agenda item that I have is the Portman Mixed Use Development Project, amendment to the resolution. Is anybody here on that?
Yes. Our legal counsel, Mr. Dan McRae, he's online.
Mr. Chairman and board members, I'd be glad to report on that if you like.
Can you turn it up a little bit? I couldn't
The
hear.
board may recall that in September of last year, we adopted the inducement resolution for this project. The inducement resolution is a preliminary resolution that ramps up to the bond resolution, which has the definitive documents, and it's what we need to start the validation. That was in September. We got some comments in from the company, really from the company council after that, which is a little unusual. But we were able to accommodate those, and the board in November approved an amendment agreement, really a letter agreement, amending the inducement agreement that was approved in September. Because we wanted some finality to this, the board's approval was conditioned on the company sending back its signature pages and taking care of an outstanding invoice within a time period, which I think was the end of the month of November. And for whatever reason, they didn't do that. So the effect of that is that the board's done everything that we needed to do. The company has now come back and reinitiated the transaction, which I think I said at the time that if they were able to get financing, they would come back and we didn't need to worry about that. And that's exactly what happened. So for whatever reason, and So my recommendation would be that the board simply by voice vote approve a resolution reapproving the inducement agreement amendment. And I believe that's in your board package. I can answer any questions on that if you like. And I also would be glad to give you an update on the progress of the project and what to expect next month, because we expect them to be back for the bond resolution. We're working on the bond resolution documents, and there's an update on that, and some other things that I can give you as well. I can do that now, or I can wait till after you consider the amendments.
For now, or, yeah, Dan, you can go ahead and present it now.
Well, it's not much really. You'll recall, we have a project summary as part of the inducement resolution and inducement agreement. Of course, the bond resolution goes into all of that in great detail. The primary part of the project is a mixed-use development, which is multifamily housing. It's a 364-unit apartment complex with parking and amenities. As part of that, this is a mixed-use project. The part that's not multifamily is not huge, but it's not tiny either. It's 27,000 square feet of retail. The site has 3 tracks, and what they want to do is to, of course, to put the family on one track, and each of the retail developments, which would be separate buildings, on different tracks. And for convenience, what they've asked is that instead of doing one big bond resolution for the bond amount of, checking memory, $82.5 million, that we do 3 separate bond resolutions, one for the multifamily, one for the phase 1 retail, and the other for the phase 2 retail. The total of those bond amounts would add up to $82.5 million. Portland remains the developer, and I tell you what I would expect out of this is not for sure, but developers who have a specialty in one asset class like multifamily can carry out related developments like retail. I mean, so it might be a restaurant, it might be a store of some kind. They usually don't hold on to that, so they might very well, and I'm just speculating, they might very well sell that to some operator. So they would build and own for a while and then sell the project if they do like other developers have done. But we still have Portland with the flagship project, Portland doing the development of all 3. So what you can expect in April, and I think that date is April 1st, that we would be back for a special meeting in April with not 1, not 2, but 3 bond resolutions off of the same project. None of that is addressed in what we're being asked to do now, which is to reapprove the amendment. The amendment still talks about 1 bond resolution, although it talks about different series of bonds. I really don't think it makes any sense to get into all of that on March the 26th, when on April the 1st, the bond resolutions will be here. So we've left that alone. And again, the purpose of the request to reapprove is basically just to show the lenders that they're doing everything that they said they would do. So that's what I know, and I think the project is going ahead great guns. It looks like they're very close to getting their financing approved. They won't be ready to close by April the 1st, I don't think. We may ask you to give some authority or to enter into some loan documents. We will have to join in some documents because we'll hold legal title, but the board and the authority will be exculpated on that and indemnified. So that's a normal thing to do also. But that's what's going on. That's the background, and happy to answer any questions on the amendment or any of the bond resolutions or anything else.
Any questions? All right. And so, Dan, when we push the date back, how does that affect I guess the next step is the court review of the bond?
I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Chairman, I meant to offer that, but I just happened to have the schedule in.
Okay.
So let me tell you what to expect on that. As I mentioned, when I said April the 1st, it's April the 8th. We've got a lot of these deals going on. But we are preparing the various documents. One of those documents is the memorandum of agreement. There'll be 3 of those having to do with each part of the project. That will turn into a tri-party agreement between the authority, Board of Tax Assessors, and the company. The Fulton County Board of Tax Assessors will consider that in April 13th is the date that we've got on it. We'll send it to them on April 3rd. So that's going on in April. April the 17th is when we're asking the assessors to approve the MOAs. We'll provide preview copies of the bond resolutions to the district attorney. Everybody wants everything in advance, and I'm sure, Mr. Chairman, you can sympathize that us lawyers never get anything in advance, but if you're the assessors and the DA, if you want it in advance, you get it in advance, and that's what we're doing. So the critical date for the authority is April the 8th, when we'll meet again to adopt these bond resolutions and approve the execution of the MOA. When the bond resolution is adopted and the district attorney has finished his review, he will sign the petition and complaint, relatively 3 of them. And in form, the validation is a suit by the state of Georgia, represented by the district attorney, against the development authority and the company. This is totally normal. We've been doing this in Georgia for a long time, and a bunch of other states do it as well. So when the DA signs off, we take it, we take it to the court, because the DA doesn't really do anything. They do show up at the validation proceeding. They didn't used to do that. But with the DA's signature, we'll file with the clerk. We'll get a civil action number. There are newspaper ads advertising the validation that occurred in each of the 2 weeks. So the filing of the petition complaint, the initiation of the validation is scheduled for May the 2nd. The notices are run. We expect to be before the judge. We don't have an exact date, of course, because we haven't filed yet, but the dates that we expect are either May 19th, 20th, or the 21st, or maybe the 22nd, during that period. So when the judge hears the matter, and Fulton County and Invest Atlanta get intervention sometimes. We don't expect that, and sometimes the judge has questions, but this is not a very terribly complicated deal compared to some. We've had sometimes sit down with the judge and explain what's going on. And the judge has questions, we will, but they probably won't. So this will probably take 10 minutes in court. And with the judge's signature, we're then in a position to close. So we have targeted May the 29th as the date for the closing. So that's, this is March. If we disregard what we did last year and pick up on what we're doing now, towards the end of March, we're getting serious with the documentation. Really, we've been working on this for a while, maybe really since the middle of March. The middle of March to really the end of May is less than 3 full months to get this done. And in terms of getting these bond transactions done in Fulton County, that's very fast. The company, after frankly dragging their feet for a while, is now in a big hurry, and it's just the way it is. So we're hurrying. But I don't want the board to feel hurried at all. It's our documents. They're very protective of the authority. Everything is in order. And if some comes up and it's not in order, we won't do anything. I expect it will be. So that's the process. And again, I've heard a lot of good things tonight about workforce development and what's happening in Fairburn and in the area. And again, it's quite a compliment to the community that we have a quality developer like Portland coming in and not just asking us, but actually asking us anxiously, please go ahead with this bond transaction for them. And it's not, multifamily is important. You've got to have a diversity of housing in a community to grow the way that you want to, but it's also nice to have all in all, things are going at this point, not just the way they should, but quickly the way that they should. And if the board sees fit, then we'll be closing not one, not two, but 3 bond transactions for this project in May of this year.
All right, and just for the sake of trying to do math, which I don't do on a day-to-day basis, in a perfect world, at what point does the board get compensated for the work that we're doing in making sure that this bond is issued?
The closing is when the financing fee is paid, and that's 1/8 of 1%. I had calculated that before, but let me do that real quick. Give me a second. Bring up the calculator. I used to be able to do all this in my head, and I've gotten spoiled by Excel and by these AIs there. Two things. That's a financing fee, and this is all 3 deals together. This is the total of all 3, of $103,125 that in this schedule would be paid to the Development Authority on May the 29th in cash.
Thank you so much, Dan. Is there any other questions or comments from the board? All right, seeing none. Dan, what is the exact verbiage that I need to put forth for this motion?
Motion to reapprove the amendment to the inducement agreement as previously approved by the board in November of last year. I can give you the exact date in just a second. And previously approved by the board. Looks like it was November, yes, November the 13th.
All right, you're gonna have to help me out, Dan. I was hoping to get the Cliff Notes version. Hold on, your volume went down just a little bit. Not sure if it's a microphone or.
Excuse-
So the motion would be to approve the letter agreement dated November 13, 20, ending the inducement resolution agreement approved by the board September 25th, 2024.
Is it possible to just do this by unanimous consent since we're reapproving it? We really have to make an official motion.
It does need to be a motion, but it could be to approve the resolution as I just stated it.
Perfect.
And I'll work with Sylvia to get the right word.
Perfect. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the motion as Dan just stated?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all of those in favor of approving this motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. All right, thank you so much, Dan.
I gotta say, a lot of resolutions get approved just that way. That's the way to do it.
Perfect. All right, and Sylvia will, the notes will, the next, the agenda will have the official language of the motion. Perfect. All right.
Sylvia, I'll email you tonight with the word. Just be 2 sentences.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. All right, the next item on my agenda is adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make a motion
Aye.
to adjourn.
All right, can I have a second?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adjourning this meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it. Thank you all.
Board members, great being with you. Good night.